Ni två är ju det bästa som har hänt mig.
Bäst som har skjedd deg? Ska vi vært der litt mer, da?
In a way, I think sometimes we make fictional characters that are thematically potent when we write or create things to have enough distance to really express thematical things we want to talk about. And I have, of course, this experience of being a child in a film family and people working a lot and seeing that passion and sometimes missing, my father for being away and shooting films, and found that tricky, even though he was home more than Gustav. But I have to say, at the same time, I also chose that life. I chose a life of kind of committing to being a film director, which I don't know how to do anything else. And it's not like you then realize as you do that yourself that you're not making a clear choice, perhaps. It's just something that happens and you don't know how to not do it. So the film comes out of this, how could I use a family like that to reveal a family dynamic that everyone could relate to through the specificity of that kind of family? I'm not interested in it being a film only for film people. But then I thought, there is this thing about the stuff that families don't know how to talk about, which is exactly what we're interested in talking about in movies. So how could I use that as a component in the story to reveal something? I was so moved by the fact that we became very good friends during Worst Person in the World, and we both maybe triggered a little bit each other's curiosities about having that film life and having family and all that. And he went home and started shooting 16mm documentaries about his parents and his siblings. And I went and wrote this, and we met again, and and Eskil and I looked at some of the work that he'd done that was very inspiring. Some triple exposure stuff on celluloid that he also did with his family, and a lot of that got integrated into the movie. So I'm proud to say that the DP also inspired, to a large extent, a lot of the philosophical concepts in this film. For me, it's a lot about representation of light and the mood and feeling, and which is something I value the most in film, and then also the human face, that skin tones and details are perceived differently on celluloid for some reason, and you can feel it. And it's hard you can scientifically and intellectually define and defend, I'm sure, both formats, and I have shot digitally and found that interesting too, but for sort of this kind of humanist close-up presence thing, the intimacy of that, I think on celluloid gives a special quality. I know people that have worked with him and that talked about how sympathetic he is. As you're noticing in real life, really a warm and much more communicative character than a person than Gustav as a character. So having said that, still he has a range, And it was kind of interesting, as I was about to meet him, the first Dune film came out, and he was playing Harkonnen, the monstrous character, and it's kind of interesting to look at him and think, are we going to make him into a father? But I just thought that again was an example of his range that I admire so much. Elle, I often say this. I've told her as well that when you talk to her about her experience, the skills she's got, the craft, she has the experience of a much older actor because she acted since she was a child. Mike Mills is a good friend of both of us, and he said, "I know how you work, Joachim. You need time with people and that kind of presence in the work process, and Elle is like that. She will enjoy that." And and we met and talked, and she was perfect. And she has the star quality to play that first part of Rachel Kemp, the star, but then also the authentic dramatic abilities that she shows. I have a wonderful casting person in Norway, Ingvild Kolseth Hagan, who is very warm and very good at taking actors into a room and giving them a safe space to explore stuff, so they're not just feeling they're being evaluated. And there were many very good actors that came in. But Inga and Renate, when we started putting people together, that was clearly sort of something magic and chemically right happened between those two. I wanted Renate to take charge of that character, as they all ended up doing, because they're not on the page quite. It's a suggestion, and then they have to breathe life into it and create something. Character is a dynamic between writing, acting, and editing, I find. So all of these actors are very skilled at both intellectual discussion on the material, but also letting that go and letting the thing happen where the real thing, the real cinematic moment really appears, you know. I don't come from theater. I admire it, but I've never worked in it. If there's not a camera involved in a point of view, a gaze that's more specific, I don't know how to direct. So for me, I was a tourist and an explorer and a curious, admiring person of theater. And I think like Renate really helped some of those parts, and other actors I know as well that work a lot in the theater, and to give that authenticity. And I love the rituals of it, but you know, of doing a stage play and all the things that you should and shouldn't do on a stage, like because they're doing something magnificent and crazy at the same time. There's something I think inherently difficult for humans, and particularly for animals, to stand in front of the gaze of hundreds and do anything. It's nerve-wracking, but that creates a certain dynamic, and that's the art of theater. So I thought, why not give some love to the bravery of actors? I spent a lot of my life with actors, and I get more and more impressed about what they do.